Welcome to the Tar Heel, a compelling collection of first-hand accounts and historical insights that bring to life the experience of North Carolina soldiers during the American Civil War. Known as Tar Heels for their state's production of tar and pitch, these soldiers left an indelible mark on some of the most pivotal battles and moments in American history. It is written by Louis Leon, who served as a private in the 53rd North Carolina Infantry Regiment. These are his words. October 1st, went on picket at 4 this afternoon and was roused up in the night to intercept a spy who is in our lines and is expecting to cross, but we did not see him, for it was so dark we could see nothing. October 2nd, relieved today, very wet and disagreeable weather, nothing new up to the 9th. October 9th, left camp at 4 this evening and halted on the morning of the 10th at 1 o'clock when we caught up with our brigade, marched 12 miles on a very muddy road and fell into several holes. We left again very early this morning and marched 20 miles. We waded the Rapidan today at Liberty Mills. October 11th, we forded Robertson River and marched up and down hollows without singing or making any noise, so that the enemy could not see or hear us. We heard firing on our left. We are 8 miles from Culpeper Courthouse. October 12th, started at daylight, marched 25 miles, waded the Hazel River at 10 this morning. Had to take off our shoes and pants according to orders. It was very cold. We got within a quarter of a mile of Jefferson Town when the fight commenced. We drove the Yankees through town double quick. We halted 1 mile on the other side of the town, then formed in line of battle once more and went forward. We drove the enemy over the Rappahannock and through Warrenton Springs, took 300 prisoners, and halted at 9 in the night. October 13th. Left here at daylight, marched through Warrenton, a very handsome place, went 2 miles further, and camped for the night. 7 miles. October 14th, my corps of sharpshooters marched in front of the line, left camp at 4 this morning, and at daylight, as General Ewell and staff rode up to us, there was a volley shot at us. We immediately deployed after the enemy. We fought on a run for 6 hours, all the time the enemy falling back. They at one time raised a white flag and surrendered. We then stopped firing, and as we got within 100 feet, they opened on us again, for they saw we were only a line of sharpshooters. We then resumed firing at them. I captured a mailbag in the fight, and in several letters I found some money. We halted, and the enemy kept on running like wild ducks. This is the Battle of Bristoe Station. We took many prisoners. As we got through fighting, we heard firing on our right. We marched to their support, but when we got there, the firing had ceased. 25 miles today. We camped on Manassas Plain, rain and haired all night. October 15th, here all day and talking with our prisoners. October 16th, left this morning at 4, marched 5 miles, and halted on the Orange and Alexandria Railroad, tore up 1 1/4 miles, and camped. October 17th, marched 4 miles today, and tore and burned up the same amount of railroad. October 18th, started at 4 this morning, and marched 10 miles toward Culpeper Courthouse. We tore up the railroad from Manassas to the Rappahannock River. The way we tear up railroads is this. We take the cross ties and make a square of them as high as your head. We place the rails on the cross ties, then set it on fire, and the rails bend double. October 19th. Left at 4 this morning, crossed the river on pontoon bridges. It commenced to hail and rain very hard and kept it up for 2 hours. We got very wet, halted at Cedar Run, marched 10 miles, and stayed here until the 21st, October 21st. We were sent to Kelly's Ford on picket. October 22nd, Relieved today. It was bitter cold. October 23rd, we commenced putting up winter quarters and were hard at work up till the last of this month. November 1st, moved into our shanties today. There are 5 of us in mine. They are 10 feet square. November 3rd, went on picket on the Rappahannock at Norman's Ford, 6 miles from camp. November 6th, were relieved today. November 7th, today, as several of us went to get some straw near Kelly's Ford, we heard firing and the long roll beat. Looking up, we saw the Yankees crossing the river. We double-quicked to camp and got there just in time to fall in with our regiment to intercept the enemy, but they had already crossed the river before we got there. We maneuvered about until dark, when my corps of sharpshooters was ordered out. We were within 100 yards of the Yankees and saw them around their fires very plainly. On the morning of the 8th, we retreated in very good order. I certainly was glad of it, as we were in a very bad fix. We marched until sunup and halted on Stone Mountain, passed through Stevensburg, stayed here all night, and resumed our march and halted on the morning of the 9th. We then crossed the Rapidan at the Raccoon Ford and are now camped at our old camp at Moulton Ford. We marched since leaving Kelly's Ford 40 miles. The distance is only 17 miles. We were certainly surprised for the first time since the war. We did not dream the enemy was on us before the firing commenced. Our brigade was cut off from the army twice, but our General Daniels got us through safe. Nothing new up to the 26th. November 26th, when we had marched 7 miles, we heard cannonading. The enemy is trying to cross the river at Jacob's Ford, but our boys kept them back. We lay in breastworks of our own, make until the 27th. November 27th, this morning we marched 7 miles, halted a short time, and resumed our march. Got 3 miles further, and firing commenced in our front. We then countermarched and formed in line of battle in the edge of the woods. 1 corps of sharpshooters was sent out to find the enemy, fought the enemy half an hour, and were forced back. My corps then went out as reinforcement. We fought then for 4 hours and were called back to our command. I, at one time in this fight, was in a close place. Being in front, I did not hear the order to fall back, and being by myself, was left a target for a dozen Yankees. But my Captain White saw what a fix I was in, and sent a squad of our company to my relief. So I fell back with them. We then, that night, went to Mine Run, and formed our line of battle there. November 28th, today the whole army is throwing up breastworks. The sharpshooters are out in front, my corps out today. We made ourselves small pits to lie in, as a protection from the Yankee bullets. These pits are just about large enough to hold 2 or 3 men. Pinckney King, Sam Wilson, and myself are in one. We are shooting at the enemy all day. They are returning the compliment. Late this evening, we saw some of them opposite our pits, trying to get into a house. We jumped out of our pits and fired at them several times, when poor King was shot and died in a few minutes. Another man was sent to relieve in his place, and we held our position. The other corps of sharpshooters fought all day. November 29th, ours again today, but not as hard as before, but heavy enough. The cannonading is getting heavier. December 1st, the other corps is out today. The Yankees, as well as ourselves, are well fortified, and we are confronting one another. December 2nd. This morning at 3, we moved to the right until daylight, when our corps was again sent to the front. We advanced toward the enemy's works. We moved, of course, very carefully, as we saw their breastworks, and in front of us 2 cannon. When we got in shooting range, the order was given to charge. We did so with a rebel yell, and as we got upon their breastworks, lo and behold, there were no Yankees, and the cannons we saw were nothing but logs. We followed them to the river, but their whole army had crossed. We, of course, captured a great many of their sick and stragglers. December 3rd, marched back to our camp at Moulton's Ford, and our regiment was sent on picket at Mitchell's Ford, 7 miles from camp. This has been a very severe 7 days campaign, as we fought mostly all the time. Cold, sleety, disagreeable weather, and we dare not make large fires, as that would be a sure target for the Yankees. Mine Run is a small stream on the Orange and Fredericksburg Turnpike. Nothing more worth recording up to the 8th, my birthday, and spent it as dull as could be. Have been on picket and relieved on Dole's Georgia Brigade. Up to the 27th, nothing doing. December 27th, we moved our camps from our picket posts 7 miles from Orange Courthouse on the turnpike from there to Fredericksburg, and commenced putting up winter quarters. On the 31st, moved into them, and for the first time in a year or two, we have, with our rations, some coffee, sugar, and dried apples. The year 1864, January 8th. It has been snowing and is very cold. Some of the boys have formed a dramatic company, and I went to see them play Toodles. There were 2 men shot in our brigade for desertion today. Nothing of interest until the 11th. January 11th, left our camp at sunup, got 5 miles, and halted in the woods. We have been detailed to run 2 sawmills, and we are now putting up winter quarters there. January 16th, nothing more until today. W.R. Berryhill has got the smallpox. Quite a number of us were in the same quarters with him, but none of us caught the disease. I was detailed to work at the mills, and therefore I am learning a new trade, live and learn. January 20th, hard work until today, when we were sent out to lay a plank road. While at work, General Lee and his daughter rode by us, and soon after, a courier came from his headquarters and gave us some woolen socks and gloves sent to us from his daughter. Nothing more worth recording this month. February 2nd, while hard at work in the woods hauling stocks for the mill, my furlough came for 18 days, so I was relieved. On the 3rd, I left camp and got home on the morning of the 6th. It took me several days to get accustomed to living as a civilian, as I have been in camp for 2 years at a stretch. I had a very good time and will always be grateful for the kindness shown me by everyone while at home. February 23rd, reached camp today and found that my regiment had marched once since I left. This was the first I missed since my regiment was formed. Nothing more this month. March 1st, raining hard, left camp at 9 this morning, halted at dark 9 miles from Madison Courthouse, snowing tonight. We had a hard road to travel, and when we got to our destination, the enemy had gone. March 2nd, started back to camp. The weather was clear and cold. Got there at 7 in the evening, and I was stiff from walking. We marched 18 miles today. March 3rd, left camp at 8 this morning to intercept General Kilpatrick, who is scouting in our lines. We formed in line of battle, had all the roads guarded when we found out that he was already on his way to the peninsula, so we returned to camp 20 miles today. March 4, I'm as stiff as an old man this morning from yesterday's march on the plank road. March 5, we left the mills this morning and returned to our brigade a distance of 5 miles. Nothing more up to the 17th. March 17th, an order was read out at dress parade that all troops in the army would be held until the end of the war. This was nothing of importance to us as we enlisted for that time. It is raining and snowing very hard and almost every day. Our regiment is not in winter quarters, for we expect to move when the bad weather stops. We had a snowball fight, our regiment with the 43rd North Carolina, then our brigade with Battle's Brigade. It was lots of fun. Nothing more until the 26th. March 26th, we were visited today by our governor, Zeb Vance, who made us a speech of 2.5 hours duration. With him on the platform were General Lee, General Ewell, and several others. March 28th, we were reviewed today by our governor. When I say reviewed, I mean all the North Carolina troops in our corps. After the review, we went to Ramseur's brigade, where he spoke again. So did Generals Early, Rhodes, and Stewart. That is all that is worth recording this month. April 1st, left camp at 8 this morning to go on picket 12 miles from our camp. Our brigade went on picket at Raccoon Ford and picketed up to Moulton's Ford. Raining hard today. Also, on the 2nd, the river is 10 feet above common watermark. April 1st. As I haven't heard from my parents since the war, they living in New York, I thought I would send a personal advertisement to a New York paper to let them know that my brother and myself are well, and for them to send an answer through the Richmond paper. I gave this to a Yankee picket who promised me he would send it to New York. Nothing more up to the 7th. April 7th. This is a day of fasting and prayer set apart by President Davis. April 9th, were relieved today by Dole's Georgia Brigade. Got to camp at 1 in the evening, raining very hard all day. Nothing more up to the 14th. April 14th, I went to A.P. Hill's Corps to visit my friend, Lieutenant Rusler, and returned to camp on the 15th. April 15th, nothing more up to the 18th. April 18th, our Corps of Sharpshooters went out today, target practicing. We shoot a distance of 500 yards, offhand. Some very good shooting was done. April 20th, I hit the bullseye today. We are practicing every day up to the 23rd. April 23rd, went to Moulton's Ford, met Stonewall Brigade on our way, and had some lively talk with them, all in fun, of course. Stayed on picket until the 30th. Then we were relieved at 11 in the morning and reached camp at 2. May 1st, rumors are flying that we will soon get hard fighting. Nothing more up to the 4th. That concludes the 4th part of the story. Thank you very much for listening. Please subscribe for more episodes and leave a comment.